Good evening. Welcome to Hebrew News Network, where we try to help you understand the Bible and different things that are going on in the world through a biblical lens. Tonight, we'll be looking at the Trump administration set to cut 5,000 U.S. troops from Germany. Also, we'll be taking a look at going abroad. What would Germany's new military service act actually change? Also, Trump becomes the first U.S. president to call for national Sabbath. It says Shabbat, but we know that means Sabbath. So we'll look more into that as well. Also, in our false preacher segment, Brian Carn, a very popular preacher from Jacksonville, Florida, has been found guilty, um, trying to be slick, found guilty, and will be having to complete a 9-month sentence in jail. In addition to that, as you could tell, the name of our segment tonight is also called Discerning Prophecy, Pestilences. And the reason why we called it that is because of a new outbreak that is taking place across the world. It is not, well, some individuals just made it to Georgia today or yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll see how that goes. Seems like we have the same indications of what took place before COVID. And it is called the hantavirus. And it was an outbreak that took place on cruise ships, and 3 of the 6 people that end up with it have died. So now some people are being quarantined and all that type of stuff. So we'll take a look at that as well. All right, so over to our first segment for today. Good evening, Sister Cheryl. Welcome once again. So over to our first segment for today. Let's share a screen. Nate is out working. He was fixing his vehicle last week. So while he was fixing his vehicle, I was out working. So I had some things I had to take care of today. And he was going to do just a certain amount of properties, but he was so close to the ones that we have on schedule. He just went on and decided to knock everything out. So I got to chill. So now, first article here, as it says, Trump administration to cut 5,000 U.S. troops from Germany. The Pentagon is planning to withdraw about 5,000 American forces from Germany, senior defense officials said Friday. The officials characterized the move as a signal of President Trump's discontent with the level of assistance that European allies have offered in the U.S. Iran war, Mr. Trump. European allies have offered in the U.S.-Iran war. And that's a period right there. I didn't see that. Mr. Trump has publicly criticized German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and the leaders of other NATO member states for not getting directly involved in the U.S.'s military campaign against Iran. The United States military has a massive presence in Germany dating back to the aftermath of World War II and the Cold War. More than 36,000 active duty troops were assigned to bases throughout Germany as of last December, along with nearly 1,500 reservists and 11,500 civilians, according to Defense Department figures. Japan is the only foreign country with a larger presence of U.S. troops. Germany is also home to the headquarters of U.S. European Command and Africa Command, and its Ramstein Air Base is a key hub for U.S. operations. Some of the U.S. forces who are being moved out of Europe may return to the U.S. and then be deployed abroad, defense officials said, describing it as an effort to focus on the Pentagon's priorities in the U.S. homeland and the Indo-Pacific region. The withdrawals will not affect the transport or care of injured troops at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany, the official said. Landstuhl is the largest U.S. hospital abroad has taken care of U.S. forces injured by Iranian strikes. And like it says in this paragraph here, right below, Chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said the withdrawal will take place over the next 6 to 12 months. The decision follows a thorough review of the department's force posture in Europe and is in recognition of theater requirements and conditions on the ground, Parnell said in a statement. And one of the reasons I wanted to point this particular article out is because if you have any understanding on the word of God, you know that um, America will have to take a back seat um, to Rome. So mainly what's going on now, we have the United Nations and NATO, and a part of NATO is America, right? They play a major role. So based on the Bible, we know Rome is going, form an alliance with 10 nations, Gentile nations, that is. And eventually, once he formed this alliance with them, they going to give all their power to him and, offer military assistance as well in order to get the Pope's agenda accomplished. And according to the Bible, that is great tribulation, sisters and brothers. So as we see different things like this take place, where America is talking about pulling troops out of Germany, what that is going to do is that's going to cause the European Union to have to step up, or NATO, United Nations, is going to cause them to have to step up and create their own army. So that's why this article is important. The Bible warned us about it. Revelation 17, Revelation 13. Even Daniel, the Lord warned us about it. So we just want to point that out because we need to keep an eye on these things that are going on. All right, let's see here. On to more news. Next article we want to look at is going abroad. What would Germany's new military service act actually change? And this was brought to my attention by one of the brothers at church. Brother Curtis had pointed out to me how in Germany they've kind of made some new rules, and let's see what it is. Under the new law, German men aged 17 to 45 must obtain authorization for extended stays abroad. The obligation is not new, but critics say it should have been communicated more clearly. So, in other words, if these young men or these soldiers want to go out of town, or matter of fact, hold on. Let me just make this clear. This is not referring to military. This is referring to citizens. Okay. German men aged 17 to 45, German men, like I say, not military. We just talking about male citizens of Germany, right? German men aged 17 to 45 must obtain approval from the, let me go over here. Okay. Bundeswehr before leaving the country for more than 3 months under a law that took effect on 1 January, the defense ministry confirmed on Saturday. So you just a regular citizen in the country in Germany, right? And as a male, 17 to 45, you want to leave for more than 3 months, you got to get permission. That kind of makes me think there's something going on that we're not being told. The requirement is part of the Military Service Modernization Act, which extends a restriction previously limited to states of tension or defense to peacetime. The ministry said approval would be automatically granted as long as military service remains voluntary. So you will be granted to leave long as the military service is still voluntary. So, like, they can call you when they want to. That's the point. In an emergency, we need to know who is potentially staying abroad for a longer period, a ministry spokeswoman told German media. The law affects roughly 20 million German men and applies to stays abroad for study, work, or travel exceeding 3 months. The ministry acknowledged the impact is profound and said it is drafting detailed exemption rules. The change originally came into force with little public attention, which only spiked just days ago. The Frankfurter Rundschau first reported the requirement last Friday, more than 3 months after the law took effect. A ministry spokesperson said approval from a Bundeswehr Career Center is deemed granted in principle while military service remains voluntary. But the necessary administrative regulations have not yet entered into force. Consequences for those who fail to obtain approval remain unclear. Wow, you get in trouble. Goodness gracious. So I really don't want to read any more on that. I just wanted to point out, it seems like everybody is preparing. It seems like everybody is preparing for war. It's a reason why these individuals, these men cannot leave Germany without getting permission. And they're not even servicemen, not even in the military. So I thought that was interesting to point out. Let's go look at something else here. And just going through the articles, just trying to make sure we be able to get our episode in tonight. Oh man, where is it at? Let's see here. Oh man. Let me go. I lost it. I was moving too, y'all. Give me 1 second. Very interesting article here. Let's see here. Very interesting. All right, let's share this page right here. Bring it down. Okie dokie here. All right, here we go. Trump become first. It should be becomes International Fellowship of Christian and Jews. Trump becomes first United States president to call for national Shabbat. United States President or U.S. President Donald Trump called on Americans to observe Shabbat from sundown on May 15th to nightfall on May 16th. Why not sundown to sundown? To nightfall on May 16th in a proclamation signed yesterday. Israel 365 News reports that Trump is the first American president to make such a declaration. In his statement, he referenced George Washington's 1790 letter to the Torah synagogue and highlighted how Jewish Americans helped fulfill the founding promise of the nation as it marks its 250th year. Well, that's some BS because these ain't the real people, and we all know that. What's up, Jerry? Appreciate you, young man. But yeah, so we all know that those aren't the real people. I just wanted to show how he's going to call for the nation to actually observe the Sabbath in observation of America's 250 years of existence. In special honor of 250 glorious years of American independence, and on the weekend of Rededicate 250, a national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving, Jewish Americans are encouraged to observe a national Sabbath, Trump wrote. From sundown on May 15th to nightfall on May 16th, friends, families, and communities of all backgrounds may come together in gratitude for our great nation. This day will recognize the sacred Jewish tradition of setting aside time for rest, reflection, and gratitude to the Almighty. Lord have mercy. So this is going to show you that they know what the Sabbath is, right? They know what the Sabbath is, but still they're going to do it their own way. Now, one reason I wanted to bring this particular article out is because you have Seventh-day Adventists have been warning about a mandatory rest day, making Sunday the day of rest, right? So they all up in arms and on edge and stuff like that, wondering if that'll happen. Hey, Sister Gabrielle. So they're all up in arms and stuff like that, and thinking that uh, you know making a Sunday law has something to do with the mark of the beast and stuff like that. So this particular article right here, they were talking about this on their page, on their channel, and they was like, if Trump will pass or try to not necessarily enforce, but sign something into motion or put something into motion where he want people to keep the Sabbath next weekend. They're saying, well, that's just the beginning, because if he does something like that, he's mainly doing that to appease the Jews, but he can turn around and make Sunday law mandatory, you know. So so by them putting that out, that just made me go check this particular article out myself, because I didn't even know that he was going to do that. But like it says here, Trump is the first U.S. president to call for national Shabbat, and it's not going to be nothing mandatory. I mean, it's voluntary, so I don't know why the Seventh-day Adventists getting so up in arms, because everybody is looking for the world to come to an end. They just not looking in the right places. Like, even if Trump did make Sunday law mandatory, that don't mean it's the end of the world. That means, get ready to stand up for your God. You know what I'm saying? So, what side you gonna be on? That's more so what that's showing. But eventually we gonna get there. But people just be looking for anything, to say, well, they signed a Sunday law, that's the mark of the beast, and we getting to the end. Look, it ain't that easy. It ain't that easy. Plus, the man of sin is coming out of Rome. Trump also paid tribute to Haym Salomon, the Revolutionary War era financier who rallied support for independence, and, as the proclamation put it, gave everything to the success of the American Revolution. The proclamation declares, like so many Jewish Americans who follow in his footsteps, Salomon's legacy stands as a testament to the unshakable belief in the American promise. Let's see here. Let's see what else I want to read about this. Okay. So it's a Shabbat or Sabbath initiative, and the day is supposed to be May 15th to May 15th. Well, Shabbat from sundown, Sabbath from sundown May 15th to nightfall on May 16th. Like I said, just say sundown to sundown. But once again, if they know that the Sabbath is from sundown to sundown, then why they just won't do it? And you can't serve two masters. So just want to point that one out. Let's move on to our next one. All right. So in our false preacher report, let's look at a few minutes of this individual here, Brian Karn. We said we was gonna bring y'all this segment every week, looking at a few false preachers out here, at the same time warning people to be careful, because they come to you in sheep's clothing. But this particular individual, he got caught stealing money from the IRS, and he is getting ready to do 9 months in jail. Some of y'all might have heard of him, Brian Karn. Very, very, he's very deceiving. If you don't pay attention, you would definitely be deceived. But a lot of people ain't paying attention, especially come out of Jacksonville. They ain't listening. I'm from there. I know they ain't reading no book. But let's look at this right here. I just kind of fast forwarded. He's was waiting for people to come in, and he was explaining not necessarily what went on, but just explaining why he wants to tell his part of the story. So we're gonna pick it up right here, and let's see if he's gonna get into it and tell what really happened. And if not, we're gonna cut him off. But this is just, like I say, our false preacher report today.
You have are aware there's an article that is going on about me concerning me pleading guilty as it pertains to obstruction of justice. I was confronted with it. And when I was confronted with it, of course, I didn't know all of the details because, as I said on last night, as a black man, when you're raised,
as he talks, I think he has a retainer in his mouth, y'all. So some of his words are like getting, caught up, like he falling off the railroad track or something. But why you got to talk like that? Why you got to do all that? These preachers something else. The Bible talks about, great swelling words. That's what he tried to do.
Up, we do file taxes, but we don't file taxes to pay money. We file taxes to get a refund. So as a young man, I was thrust into an enormous amount of money. And I want to say that when I was confronted with this, I immediately made it my business to take responsibility for it. I believe that the only way you properly grow is after you own something. The scripture showed us that Adam blamed Eve, right? Saul blamed the people. But David said, against thee and against thee only have I sinned and done this evil in thy sight. And only one of those responses was the one that led to true restoration. It was the person who said, I've done it, it's my fault, and I was wrong. And so I wanted to communicate to the people to whom I pastor, communicate to the people who watch me all over the world, which I felt it was my responsibility to own. I don't even want to blame ignorance, because ignorance doesn't equal malice, but it also doesn't remove accountability. And I want to say this clearly, and I want to say this extremely carefully. A lot of things that I did were done out of ignorance, not out of malicious intent, not trying to deceive nobody. I wasn't trying to harm anybody. But I also want to say, ignorance does not excuse responsibility. And just because there was no malicious intent in it doesn't remove accountability. Now, ignorance may explain how something happened, but it doesn't justify that it actually happened. And what I didn't understand, I still had the responsibility to learn.
He lying. He's sitting there lying, y'all. Like now he want to make it seem like he ignorant. He didn't know. Nigga, you stealing. You know exactly what you're doing. Now, matter of fact, you know, he done said his little piece. He done said his little spiel, right? Let's see what actually happened. Let's see what happened. Okay. Let's read a little bit of this right here. Because the article said what he did. Okay, here we go. In 2016, Karn's accountant used information from the ministry to prepare a tax return that listed his 2015 income as around $1.4 million and his taxes owed at $606,722, right? Karn reportedly then forged a $120,000 a year employment contract backdated to that year and hired a different accountant to file an amended return. When IRS opened an investigation, Karn lied to investigators during a multi-year collections process, opening him up to criminal prosecution. So that's what really happened, y'all. You know, we're not gonna watch the more. He ain't saying that, he's just talking in circles. But that's what really happened right there. I don't know, but I don't know if that was him. If you just Google it and see, because that's what he did. I don't know about that guy. But I think I'm trying to see. Am I getting them mixed up with the guy in Texas who's in jail? Him, the woman that was working with him. He had like people inside the church working, not getting paid, like almost like slaves. It's a black dude got a look like Homer the Clown. I got to get the picture. I'm gonna show y'all next week what I'm talking about. We're gonna look at him on the False Preacher Report next week. But the point is here, you know, he's not taking responsibility for what he did. He's trying to, you know, he's using all these different words to try to beat around the bush, but he got caught stealing, you know, and a scripture talks about that. I think it's Isaiah 58, I believe, talks about how they greedy dogs who can never have enough, you know, and that's exactly what he definitely is. It just so happened they caught up to him. But now let's move to the next one. Let's move to our next article. And this is more so pertaining to what the title of to this evening's segment is called, Discerning Prophecy, Pestilences, right? Because once again, we have possibly, you know, came upon or we're possibly approaching another something similar to COVID. But this time it's a lot worse. And what I mean by that is the death rate on this right here is almost like half. You know what I'm saying? So for example, it was like 6 people on the ship. They say 8 people. Well, they say 8 people. First they start off with like 3 people out of 6 people that end up with this hantavirus. 3 people died on, you know, from the cruise ship. And then they added a couple more people that might have been infected. Some people in the hospital right now. Cruise ship is mainly stranded going over to, I think, Spain. We got Americans on there and everything, so they're doing a quarantine and stuff like that. And we're gonna see the quarantine time frame for this right here. If you can remember, in 2020, the quarantine was about 2 weeks, right? Well, wait till you hear how long this one is. It ain't no years and nothing like that, but it ain't no 2 weeks though. So let's go and read this right here. Then we'll check out once we get done. We'll look at a video on it. All right. So this particular article right here is from Now the End Begins. Hantavirus outbreak on cruise ship sparks global contact tracing as Trump is once again president during a potential pandemic level threat. And you guys can definitely Google this while we're live. So you can actually, if you haven't heard of it, you can look and see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like see how, because it's starting to pop up on the news, on the the what is it called? The nightly news starting to come up there, starting to come up in different platforms on YouTube, starting to slowly appear, just like COVID did. So, but we just want to help you guys get ahead of everything, at least mentally, Trump was president during COVID, and now he is president again as a deadly hantavirus. Hold on, did I share it? Let me share it. Yes, two is from Georgia. You talking about with the virus, right, Sister Cheryl? Yeah, because I think two of them they got back and they not telling where they located at, but they definitely two was from Georgia. So it says here in this headline, sorry I didn't share it, guys. Here it is now, though. Trump was president during COVID, and now he is president again as a deadly hantavirus outbreak triggers global contact tracing across international borders. Here we go again. The last time Donald Trump sat in the Oval Office, the whole world was plunged into a pandemic that shut down churches, closed businesses, crashed economies, normalized masks, conditioned people to accept medical passports, and gave governments a once in a generation excuse to test just how much control frightened populations would surrender. Now, here we are in 2026. Trump is president again. And once again, we're watching global health authorities, airlines, cruise operators, and international agencies scramble to track a deadly virus that has already killed 3 people. Coincidence? Maybe. But at this point, the word coincidence is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting. So they try to put their Bible verses in there and stuff like that. Um, I don't read those because they don't know what they're talking about. The World Health Organization says the MV Hondias cruise ship outbreak was reported on May 2nd, 2026, and that as of May 4th, there were 7 cases linked to severe respiratory illnesses, including 2 laboratory confirmed hantavirus cases, 5 suspected cases, 3 deaths, and 1 critically ill patient. Symptoms included fever, gastrointestinal illness, pneumonia, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and shock. AP reports that the outbreak unfolded over weeks. So I think it was April. Well, April sometime when it happened. It might have been the 14th of April. So it's been like, I guess in a sense, just kind of hanging out in the background. You know what I'm saying? Like slowly, like just kind of, just I ain't gonna say fermenting, but you know, it's kind of laying low, getting ready to come up if that's the case. We hope it's not though. But the point is, they done waited all this time to say something. Like, how you know? How do they know it was in April? I think I read some earlier saying it was like the middle of April. So if y'all can say that the outbreak unfolded over weeks, why they wait to May 2nd? Well, May 2nd to report it, and now it's really just starting to make the news. They should have been did something about this. But we at the end, we're gonna see how this all unfolds. AP reports that the outbreak unfolded over weeks as the vessel sailed from Argentina toward Antarctica and then across the Atlantic, with passengers and crews becoming sick before authorities fully understood what they were dealing with. Okay, that makes sense. They know what they was dealing with. But still, after COVID took place, you think that they'll kind of be not necessarily on pins and needles, but they'll be more I guess ready to handle something like that, even if it's just suspicion, you know. That is exactly the kind of what we've seen this before scenario that should make your ears perk up. Not because hantavirus is automatically the next COVID, and not because every outbreak is a manufactured event, but because the machinery around these two events is now fully built, tested, and waiting. Mm. Contact tracing, isolation orders, airline alerts, global coordination, public health messaging, international surveillance. We saw that machine roared to life in 2020. And now we're watching the gears begin to turn again. This is what we've been warning you about since the first time they tried it. And we've been warning people about this for years, not just with myself, but teachers before us that have already laid the groundwork. They've been preaching this. And matter of fact, the Lord done warned us about this. I mean, it's in the Bible for a reason, right? Wow, some pastors got out weeks ago. Lord have mercy. Mm-mm-mm. They did the same exact thing last time. The same thing. You know, that's why we say, you know, fool me once, shame on you, right? Fool me twice, shame on me. You know, because it's like we gonna learn something from the first one, and the first one is keep in mind, you know, if you don't know anything about how things go on behind the scenes, from my understanding, not saying that it's 100%, but just looking at it, it seems like this is true. And what it is they call it problem, reaction, solution. People, the powers that be, they'll cause the problem. The people like us will react, then they'll come with the solution. You know, there is if you look, all you have to do is type in event 201. It was like a demonstration of how the world will react if an outbreak, I think an epidemic broke out. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, they called it COVID. It's Event 201, and they started practicing on this. They had this event or like a dry run in 2019, and then 2020, boom, it hit the scenes. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, you know, I make the statement, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, because the next time around, you should be prepared. Now, I understand the first time we weren't ready for it. You know what I'm saying? We was reading the Bible. Like I said, people have been preaching about this for years. People before me have already laid the groundwork and let us know what was coming, right? But at the same time, when it actually hit, we weren't really, you know, ready for it like we thought we were. Yeah, at least mentally, you know. And I know, even being someone in the Word, teaching the gospel, you know, me and a few brothers, like I say all the time, we had to call to get some guidance from our elder teacher on how we gonna deal with this particular you know, event, right? And then you had some people that might have just got shaken up, period, and stopped coming to church. You know, if not where we are, you know, at other locations, you know, out of fear. So the first time, you know, the Lord, you know, wink his eye at that, you know, like I said, we ain't never seen nothing this close to us as far as death is concerned, or people dropping like that. But the second time, we need to make sure our faith is up and we ready to stand for the Lord, because, you know, if hopefully nothing comes of this, you know, because honestly, y'all, honestly, I just want to keep preaching the gospel and do what we got to do, and hopefully we can just make it to the Lord return. But I do know and understand that there's some stuff coming down the pipes that we got to be prepared for. So it ain't like I just want this to happen, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we do have to watch and pay attention and make sure our faith is girded up to be able to go through these hard times that's coming. So let me finish reading this. Excuse me. Okay. And I'm assuming, excuse me, I'm assuming Oceanwide Expeditions is the ship. So it says or might be the travel company. Oceanwide Expedition said it is tracking down the details of passengers and crew on the MV Hondia since March, and that details will be available in coming days. Man, what in the world, since March? Like, going back that far? The cruise ship angle makes it even more provocative. AP reported that more than 24 passengers left the ship on April 24th. So it wasn't the 14th, it was the 24th. After the first onboard fatality, before contact tracing was fully in place. So somebody died on the ship, y'all. You know, and I don't know how contagious it is, but at the same time, still, you still got these people on the ship and they come off and, ain't nobody, they're not really saying nothing about it. And maybe they don't want to cause no panic. It could go back, it could be nothing. We'll see though. Those passengers then had the potential to travel onward internationally. That is the stuff of pandemic tabletop exercises. A contained environment, an exotic pathogen, international passengers, delayed identification. And that's what they did, right? They delayed identifying what the problem was. Global travel routes and public health authorities racing to reconstruct the chain of exposure after the fact. So that's what's going on with that. Let's go move over to the next one. And like I said, you guys can actually Google that while we're looking at it, just to kind of or when we get done, or if you have time throughout the week, just go back and look at it and just make sure you stay abreast on this right here. That's all. All right, let me share this next one. And then we got one more after this, and that'll be it for this evening. Of course, we're gonna read the scripture. Which one are we going to? Okay. How a deadly hantavirus outbreak unfolded on a cruise ship weeks before it was identified. All right, let's see here.
South African authorities have identified the Andes strain of hantavirus, which can be transmitted from person to person, in 2 passengers who were on a cruise ship at the center of an outbreak of the rare infection. One of the passengers, a British man, is in intensive care in a South African hospital. The other passenger died in South Africa. Swiss authorities report a man has tested positive for the virus after returning from the cruise ship. They didn't specify when exactly the patient was on board the ship, which is currently anchored off Cape Verde. 3 passengers have died in the outbreak of the virus on the ship, and at least 4 other people have fallen sick. The World Health Organization has said 3 suspected cases have been evacuated from the ship and are heading to the Netherlands.
Well, man, look at that, y'all. Wow, that's in South Africa. They always start over there too, seems like. So I don't think we need to read this. I'm trying to see. Okay, let's just read the first top right here, the top right here, top of the page, and then we'll move on to the last one. Cape Town, South Africa, a deadly outbreak of the rare hantavirus unfolded over the course of weeks. Come on, man, why you in my way? Over the course of weeks, on a cruise ship that sailed from Argentina toward Antarctica, and then across the Atlantic Ocean, stopping at or near remote islands on the way as passengers and crew members fell sick. According to information from the cruise operator, the World Health Organization, and ship tracking data. It shows nearly a month passed between when an elderly Dutchman fell sick and died in the South Atlantic in laboratory tests in South Africa, more than 3,500 kilometers away, 2,100, a little over 2,100 miles. So more than 3,500 kilometers away, first confirmed hantavirus infections. 3 passengers have died. 1 is in intensive care in the South African hospital, and 3 others were evacuated from the ship Wednesday. Another man who left the ship early in the voyage tested positive in Switzerland. Wow. Goodness gracious. So in Switzerland now. More than 140 passengers and crew members were still on the MV Hollandia ship as it departed the West African island nation of Cape Verde for Spain's Canary Islands. So that's where they supposed to be going at, from what I understand. I don't think that's where the ship actually came from. I think they rerouted to the Canary Islands, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw that earlier. So let's just read some of the things that's going on at the bottom here. April 1st. So it departed Argentina. April 6th. First passenger, a 70-year-old man, falls ill. April 11th, passenger dies on board the ship. April 24th, bodies removed from ship at St. Helena. Passenger's 69-year-old wife leaves and flies to South Africa, where she dies. Man, so why they ain't quarantine her? But RIP, and it's sad that these people passed away. But I'm just saying, like, they still let them travel around the world being sick after the husband died. Second ill passenger, April 27, is evacuated to South Africa. Test results May 2nd are positive for hantavirus. May 2nd, a German woman who showed symptoms, April 28, dies on board the ship. Wow. May 3rd, the ship arrives in Cape, is that Verde? Cape Verde, something like that. Might be Spanish. Who says it is reacting to a suspected hantavirus outbreak on the ship, which now has 3 other people who are ill. On May 6th, it departs en route to the Canary Islands. May 7th, the ship departs Cape Verde en route to the Canary Islands. Oh man. So let's see how you get this. Let's see here. How is this spread? Man, what is going on my computer? Okay. Tests on patients in South Africa and Switzerland showed it was a hantavirus found in South America called the Andes virus, officials said. Hantavirus usually spreads by inhaling contaminated rodent droppings and can spread person to person, though that is rare, according to the WHO, or that's World Health Organization, whose top epidemic expert said the risk to the public is low. They said it last time. That's how it all started. Remember, it was like 2 weeks, right? We're going to stay in for 2 weeks. And then the 2 weeks turned almost into 2 years. As the number of confirmed infections increased to 5, health authorities in 3 continents were investigating the source and tracing dozens of people who might have come in contact with passengers who left the ship earlier. Wow. All right. So you guys can read that on your own. That is an Associated Press or AP article. And it's how a deadly hantavirus outbreak unfolded on a cruise ship for weeks before it was identified. So now we're gonna go here and let's just go look at some of a few. Oh man, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna look at a video or 2 right quick. Yeah, and since I saw you say you didn't know about it, the crazy thing about it is a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know. That's why, I felt it like we should at least put it out here, you know what I'm saying? But so people can know what's going on. But that's how things kind of happen though. They kind of don't really say nothing, keep it on the low, and I think a lot of times they try to stop people from panicking. So let's see here. We're gonna share this right quick. Try to keep people from panicking and stuff like that. You know how it was, rodent droppings. Some of this stuff is hard to believe because I done seen rats before. I done walked in places where rats be at, like especially if you working on the house or something. Like back in the day, I'm sure as kids we done walked in somebody's house, had rat droppings everywhere. Ain't nobody die from that. I mean, come on, But at the same time, I don't know, but that got to be some strong boo boo. Let's look at this, y'all. Let's see here. I don't know what kind of boo boo that is, boy. Make a nigga die.
Tonight, the cruise ship MV Hondius is docked off the West African nation of Cape Verde, officials revoking permission for passengers to disembark. The ship set sail from Argentina more than 4 weeks ago, promising its 150 passengers a journey to several exotic places, culminating in Antarctica. Now, passengers are stuck on the ship. Medical investigators believe 3 passengers have died from the hantavirus. 3 other cases are suspected. Hantavirus is a rare respiratory disease that can kill up to 50% of those infected. It's the same illness that killed actor Gene Hackman's wife last year.
This really is a detective story. So they're going to have to figure out, okay, where was the boat? Where were the people? When could they possibly have been infected with rodent droppings or urine or saliva?
You're right, Sister Shay. You just said it right after that. Yep. And did y'all see the fatality rate though? It's a 50% fatality rate. That means if it's 100 people, 50 people gonna die. If the Lord say so, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, good man, just as we get to the end, y'all, it's gonna get worse, man. It's gonna get worse. Y'all better just gird up, man. Get in the Bible, get in your word, study. Take some time out to get inside that Bible. Because you're gonna have to be mentally ready to stand up for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? That we get stuck in this great tribulation. And even before we even get there, the Bible let us know it's gonna start to pick up anyway. Before we even get to great tribulation, so you gotta get yourself together, man. If you playing, stop playing. Not saying that this is it, but I'm just saying because the Lord could come for us at any time. So you just want to always be prepared. I have to talk to myself. I have to do the same exact thing, get more and more into the word, focus and stuff like that. Don't get too caught up in the things that are going on around us. Not that it's not important, but the simple fact is, the Lord told us to watch and pray, right? So how you gonna pray for something if you don't know how you gonna watch for something? How you gonna pray for something you don't know what you're watching for? You don't know to watch for, right? So that's the thing. We want to watch and pray at the same time to get our faith built up. And yeah, ain't no cure.
The World Health Organization is helping to evacuate passengers that are showing symptoms.
Right now, the World Health Organization is saying there's no big risk to the general public. But of course, you're always going to play it safe. You're going to be as cautious as possible and get as much information as possible.
And Dr. Lepouk says this virus is not.
We're going to let y'all hear what dude's going to say at the end. Peace, brother. But he said you want to play it safe, right? He's talking about play it safe because they're not going to tell everybody what's going on right now. Of course, you're going to get your information and stuff like that, but playing it safe, we ain't telling you what's really going on.
Not like the norovirus, which can rapidly spread on a cruise ship and really wreak havoc. The World Health Organization is working to see if this virus is the strain that can be passed from person to person. Tony.
Tom, thank you very much. And good evening. What began as a cruise of a lifetime, a weeks-long luxury journey to the edge of the Southern Ocean, has instead turned into a major medical mystery and an international crisis tonight. 3 people are dead, 4 more are ill, and nearly 150 others stranded on board the ship, where they will stay potentially for months until investigators can clear them to get off. For now.
Wait a minute. Did y'all hear that? Now keep in mind what he said. He said that they're going to possibly stay on the ship for how long? For months. I'm talking about like if you just went on the cruise just to go get a vacation, just thinking you're going to get a break, I'm going to be back to work. You know what I'm saying? You done let somebody watch the dogs. You done gave the kids over to somebody. All the stuff that come with vacation, especially taking a cruise. You got to like put in, if you're working for somebody, even if you work for yourself, you got to have time allotted out for you to take a vacation. And you planning those things with your expectations of coming home in about 5 to 10 days, probably at the most. For months being on the water, hey man, notice what he gonna say at the end. When we get to the last one, I'm gonna keep letting it play, but I want y'all to notice what the incubation period, not incubation, but the quarantine time frame is on this one.
Medical workers seen here boarding the ship in full protective gear are telling people to stay in their cabins as they zero in on a potential cause, a rare form of the hantavirus believed to have spread person to person on board the ship. Tom Hansen is tracking this story for us. Tom, good evening. So many questions. What are you learning?
Hey there, Tony. Good evening to you. Well, this cruise liner offered passengers a chance to stop at remote, untouched locations, regions where hantavirus is also common in the wildlife. And now the World Health Organization tells CBS News the infections could have possibly started during one of those nature excursions.
Tonight, the 3 remaining passengers showing symptoms believed to be linked to the deadly hantavirus are expected to be airlifted off the MV Hondias. The Spanish government says the ship, with 147 passengers on board, could sail to the nearby Canary Islands for a full disinfection.
There are no additional symptomatic people on board. That said, the situation is being closely monitored.
New video shows officials from the World Health Organization boarding the ship in PPE, there to monitor for any new cases. Communal spaces otherwise sit empty as passengers enter their third night in quarantine. According to the company managing the cruise, so far 7 passengers have fallen ill. 3 of those passengers have died, and another was hospitalized in South Africa, all of them suspected of having the hantavirus. Health officials believe the passengers were infected off the ship, which made several stops on islands up the South American coast. Symptoms can take up to a month to show up.
What we are, our working assumption is that it is the Andes virus. It could not be, but we're assuming that it is until we determined otherwise.
The Andes strain of hantavirus can spread from person to person and is only found in regions of South America. The Dutch cruise liner left Argentina on April 1st and has been moored off the West African island of Cape Verde since Sunday. The virus is most commonly spread through exposure to rodent droppings, but a representative for the World Health Organization on Cape Verde tells CBS News no rodents have been found on the ship, pointing to traps on board the vessel that appear untouched. Medical experts believe the risks are low for the outbreak to spread.
How big of a concern is this for the global community?
The potential to spread.
Before you said that, y'all. So if you get it possibly from rodents, they ain't find no rats on the board, on board the ship. All they found was, rat traps that haven't been executed. You know what I'm saying? So they saying they might have got it off of that exotic island they went to, but it just don't make sense. It don't make sense. Like, right, always rats on ships. Yeah, I know. I guess it's they didn't see the traps triggered. But in my head, y'all, this is what I be thinking. Like I told you, I came in the weird way. But I be thinking those chemtrails and stuff they be spraying in the sky. You know what I'm saying? That stuff they be spraying out there. That's what I be thinking. But it's just I don't know what it is though. How did they get a hold of some rodent drops? How did they get close enough to smell it? That's what I want to know. Because they say from just the droppings, it's you breathe it in. So who is on their knees smelling? And that's why I say now if you just walking on a ship or something like that, and the fumes or the whatever the smell from the droppings it just happen to go what am I looking for? What's that word? It's just moving throughout the air and you inhale it, you know what I'm saying? Like that gotta be some strong doggone feces, man. But we'll see what they say.
Spread beyond an outbreak is very small.
And the voyage to the Canary Islands is expected to take 3 to 4 days. Health officials will decide if further quarantine is necessary. And if that's the case, Tony, a WHO official says the quarantine could last for up to 2 months.
It's a long time. Tom, thank you very much.
That's what I wanted y'all to hear right there. Yeah, you're right. Yep. Yeah, you're right. They do move all over the place. They do move all over the place. Let's see here. Yeah, because some of them fly. Some of them get in your attics. And they do be on it with them chemtrails every day. But, he said the quarantine can be up to 2 months, y'all. This is way worse than what we saw before. So we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. You guys keep an eye out for that. If you find anything, please just email it to us or let us know some type of way, and we'll bring it up next week or bring it up in one of the shows. So that was the last thing I had for tonight. We started at 7:15, I think 7:17. So I just want to look at something right quick. And what I want to look at is Matthew 24 and verse 6. I don't know if I want to look at that. Let's see here. And whatever the case, it's always good to have insight. Yeah, and that's good. Definitely warn people. Even if people don't want to listen and stuff like that, you still at like the book talk about, you got to save yourself from this untoward generation. So nobody want to listen, and you just have to do what you got to do for yourself. But at least try to warn folks, because there's certain things you can do. You know what I'm saying? You could possibly do that can, give you a little bit more time than just not doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Unless the Lord say otherwise. But yeah, let's just read this right quick. So we're going to Matthew 24, and we're going to pick this up at verse 4. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's several people grew up with rats in the neighborhoods. I just ain't never heard of nothing as far as rat, feces that kill people like that. Like, like that's a great point you bring up, because my grandmother, I mean, not just my grandma, we had rats. They'd be outside. That's why you have rat traps. You got mice and stuff like that. And but people never got sick like that. You know what I'm saying? So for this right here, maybe I need to look a little bit more into it to see like what caused it to be deadly like this. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I still don't trust the media. I don't trust the media. I don't trust the news. If they can lie about who God's people are, they can lie about how this virus is really getting out. You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep that in mind, because these are the same people that, got the same mindset as Pharaoh did. Pharaoh told the Hebrew midwives, yeah, they are, look like cats, right? Pharaoh told the Hebrew midwives, if if it come out a male, kill a child, right? Kill a male child, because he was trying to stop the growth of the nation, which is done by the male. So Pharaoh thought we was gonna outgrow him, so he was telling the midwife, if it come out a male child, kill it. But if it's a female, save her alive. So the same mindset is going on today. Psalms 83 and verse 4 let us know that. It said, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So it ain't no coincidence that we got liquor stores all in our neighborhood, along with false churches. Ain't no coincidence that we got abortion clinics in our neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying, along with guns and drugs being put in our neighborhood. Abortion being sold to us today. The overnight pill and stuff like that. It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that we shooting each other down. You know what I'm saying? No coincidence that our music that we listen to is about killing each other. And then you listen to the Gentile music on their stations. It talks about how they were coming up as family and stuff like that, and bonding and all that good stuff. It just sounds like their life is just fun. Then you listen to what we got going on, and it's just all negative. Even what some of the sisters do in Israel, not Israel because of they ain't a word in them, but just naturally being Israel. If you listen to their music, like it's like they done took over the role of the men now. I remember back in the day when Luther Campbell down in Florida, he was the one talking nasty on the radio. You know what I'm saying? And that was shocking back then. Now you listen to the women doing it. But this is going on in our neighborhood, love and hip hop and all that type of stuff. So I definitely take a step back and kind of look at things, for a little bit more into it than just to go with them saying it's some rats gonna get people sick. When I know they experimented with the doggone Tuskegee vaccine and all that, like it's just wickedness in the world. You know what I'm saying? I can't just say it's white folks, because we wicked too. We killing each other. We do dirt to each other. You know what I'm saying? So we wicked as well. The point is that I just don't believe that no rats gonna cause people to start dropping like that. Now I understand the lady did, you know what I'm saying? Like I say she did, but because the Hunter virus has been around for some time. So what are they doing? Are they tweaking it? Now you go back and look and see what happened with C19 a few years ago. You'll see that they found connections to it in North Carolina in the lab between North Carolina and China. So that type of stuff right there just kind of make me look at things with the side eye. But the Lord warned us about it, and however it happens, one thing we do got to understand, it don't matter. Like, for example, when it comes to earthquakes, right? if you pay attention and look a little deeper into this thing they call HARP, it's the high active something, Aurora Research Program. But anyway, it's capable of it's a machine with a whole lot of voltage, and they can turn this thing up so loud that it so much that the frequency up so loud, so high that it'll cause earthquakes, right? And a lot of people say, well, HARP ain't the Lord ain't causing the earthquakes. These earthquakes are man-made, and it is man-made. That HARP is something man-made. It's a weapon they use for war. Like say for instance, America get mad at China, they can, or mad at Iran or mad at Venezuela, they can turn this machine up, and vice versa. Russia can turn it up too, and they can cause your enemies to, experience an earthquake. But at the same time, however it's gonna happen when we get to the end, if man is doing it, it still don't matter. Why? Because God is the one that said it was gonna happen. If he used man to do it, that's the Lord. That's the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Satan used men to do things. You think God don't use men? God used men to preach the gospel. Lord will use men. He'll use men to whoop other men. Like we being whooped by a nation of people. The Lord is the one that allowed that. He is the one that allowed the Gentiles to take us down. Just to go to show you that the Lord will use whatever he needs to get what he has said accomplished. So if they got to use a HARP machine to cause earthquake, to cause the Matthew 24 to start coming to pass, so be it. If they got to start releasing great things in the lab and start releasing it for these pestilence to start taking off, so be it. The Lord behind it. Matter of fact, he told us ahead of time this was going to happen. So pertaining to the second coming in Matthew 24:4, it said, Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And that's the first thing we always have to be mindful of is the deception. That's why we wanted to put the false preacher inside of our segments to just kind of highlight false preachers every week, because we don't want to let them get away with nothing, because that's how the deception is going to be administered, right? Through the preachers. And the Lord is warning us about that. First thing on the agenda, as far as his return is coming, he ain't saying worry about the killer, worry about the rapist. He ain't saying, not to say that it ain't bad, but that's still right there, an immediate death. Nothing else can come of that, right? But the one that you need to be concerned about are these preachers, because they can get you killed spiritually and then cause you to end up getting killed physically in a lake of fire, burning for the rest of your life. So it's very important to watch out for these individuals, which is why it seemed like Jesus highlighted that first and foremost. He said, for many shall come in my name, in verse 5, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you should hear wars and rumors of wars, which is what we're going through right now. Wars and rumors of wars. 1 week they're going to call a ceasefire. They're going to talk about negotiating. Next minute, they ain't negotiating nothing. We back at it again. Strait of Hormuz supposed to open up. Then they change their mind. Oh, well, Iran don't want to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And then President Trump, he said, well, what we going to do is then we going to block your blockade. It just don't make no sense. But, I mean, you seeing the Gentiles. Iran, those are Gentiles. Russia, China, those are Gentiles. Leaders over here in America, these are Gentiles. And just look at what's starting to happen. They're starting to eat themselves from within. It's crumbling from within. Just like you say, sis. It's a distraction from the country crumbling. And that's exactly what's happening. Because they do a lot of things in the dark anyway. They'll use those things as covert and do other things, pass laws, while people worried about, what's coming and what pestilence is doing, who dying and stuff. They be doing things on the side. But it's gonna get to the point. It's gonna become so blatant. It won't even matter, because this right here has to happen. Go ahead, wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not trouble, right? That's what the Lord is telling. Don't you worry about it. That's why I was saying last night in Q&A. It just got to a point where I say, I still gotta work. I gotta work, man. I gotta feed my wife. I gotta feed myself. Gotta make sure we teach the gospel. I can't be sitting up here worrying about this mess, man. Because don't get me wrong, doing Hebrew News Network, where and dealing with different current events that we're looking at as far as news is concerned, it's almost like we got to consume ourselves in it, you know? So it was kind of like not bringing me down, but it can weigh on you a little bit, like goodness gracious. I say, man, I got to pull away. So I stopped looking at these articles so often. Now I kind of wait till like a day before. So if our show is not normally on Tuesdays, I may start looking at stuff like around Monday in the morning when I go out to work, because somebody had the headphones on. I'm listening to a few different events and articles that's going on to present, as opposed to soon as the show ends Tuesday, Wednesday night, I'm looking at some more current events. And then current event Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then Tuesday, here go the show. But I done sat here and watched all these and dug up all this stuff over the past 6-7 days. And I was getting a little beside myself, man. I was like, yeah, you know what? Let me back up. And that's what made me say, you know what? The Lord got it, man. The Lord got it. The same God that delivered our forefathers out of Egypt, this is the same God that's going to get us out of this. You understand? So we might as well just make the decision that we're going to serve the Lord no matter what. That's what the Lord is allowing me to realize. Because, I could get consumed in this stuff. That's how I came into the word. I got consumed in this, and that's right, Sister Liv. They do want us physically drunk and spiritually drunk. Yep, that's right. But I just get so consumed in it, that it kind of, it made me find the word. But now that I'm in the word, I don't need to get consumed in it. You know what I'm saying? We just need to pay attention to it. And the Lord letting us know that he said, don't be troubled. Don't worry about it. So it's almost like he just said, hey, man, just keep on living. Keep on living. Do what you got to do. I'll take care of it. Because it ain't at the end right now. Now, it's going to get bad, but he letting us know this ain't it, right? For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Then he says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There should be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places, right? And that's why I titled it Pestilences, because, ever since the one happened, C-19 happened in 2020, it just seemed like, you can't really take your foot off the gas in a sense. You still kind of like, you're trying to move on, but it's hard to ignore that a lot of people just died. Even though it was 6 years ago. Matter of fact, it was what? It was 2021, 22, 23. I mean, and you still got people dying. Remember in the sports field, it was people just dying everywhere. Monday Night Football. Was it Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football? When the brother on the field, he just collapsed on the field and just laid there. And it was a lot of that going on. So even though the Lord pulled back on the pestilence that hit in 2020, he pulled back on it. It's still like, okay, we understand the word. So what you got coming next, Lord? You know what I'm saying? So you try to move forward. You still try to move and have a good time. But like I say, man, it's hard to ignore all them people that died, man. I mean, not just in the world. People in the church was dying. People in the church was dying. So it was it's hard even now just to say, okay, well, we just gonna keep moving forward and act like they ain't even happened. Nah, you don't want to do that. You want to learn a lesson from it. You want to learn that the word of God is real. He already called it. And that right there should let you know we ain't got time to play. Definitely can't let your guard down, sis. Not at all. But he said, all these are the beginning of sorrows, just getting started. He said in verse 9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you. And you shall be hated for all nations for my name's sake. We ain't even got to the great tribulation. We ain't even got there yet. And things are already getting tough. So this is why I was saying we need to get in the word. You know what I'm saying? Get in the word. Several things that be going on throughout the week. Several brothers that be doing different shows, different platforms, preaching the gospel. And in addition to that, just see if you can find some time to get into your Bible. You know what I'm saying? See if you can find some time just to set aside, 30 minutes. If it's 30 minutes, it can be like 2 or 3 chapters. You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to be much. Just do something, though. Just do something to build your faith up. So that's it for tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And Lord willing, we'll be back Tuesday. Other than that, you guys have a great Sabbath, and thank you all for tuning in, and peace to everyone in the name of Jesus.